Hello everyone and welcome to the return game of round 5 between Levon, Aronian and Arjun Erigaisi. Their first game ended in a draw. It was a fighting game and it's hard to say, whether you can claim that Levon got a draw with black because Levon never plays for a draw, and regardless of the color of pieces, he will always play the best possible game he can. Arjun is the same that way. So even here, Levon having white and Arjun having black doesn't mean that Arjun will be defending and Levon will be attacking. It's just that they're both very, very interesting players, and they play very interesting chess, and they just play whatever with either color. So let's check it out. You guys are in for a treat in this one. Levon with white opens with pawn to e4. For those of you who don't know, first game ended in a draw. So if this one does not end in a draw, we have the one of the players goes into round 6, or if it's a draw, then they go into tie breaks. So e4, we have e5, knight f3, knight to c6, and bishop to c4. We have bishop to c5, and the eternal question, will it happen? Will it not happen? No, it will not in this video. So pawn to c3, the main line of the Giuoco Piano. We have knight f6 and pawn to d3. Now here there are many popular moves. d6, very popular, a6, very popular, castles, very popular, even pawn to h6, very popular. Pretty much any move here is very popular. But here we have pawn to a5, a bit less popular, but they will transpose into one of the main lines. So again, it can be played. For example, Fabiano Caruana defeated Hans Niemann in 2023 US Championship with this exact same line. We have castles kingside, pawn to d6, and rook to e1. We have castles kingside, knight b to d2, and bishop to e6. So all been played before, all theory. Bishop to b5 and bishop back to a7. So this is, again, fairly rare. For example, Levon already had this position on the board in the FTX Crypto Cup of 2021. He played queen to b8, which is the most popular move here. But he lost that game to Svidler. The standard idea is bringing the queen to a7 and put pressure on that f2 pawn. But here, the unprovoked bishop to a7, we have knight f1, knight to e7, and pawn to d4. Pawn to c6 has been played. Magnus Carlsen played it against Wesley So. That game ended in a draw. But here we have knight g6, knight to g3, and pawn to c6. Chasing away the bishop, we have bishop back to e2. Bishop to f1, probably, if you're just starting out, seems like a weird move, but it can very well be played because that king could easily come under attack, and an additional defender of the g2 pawn could be pretty useful. Actually, that's exactly what he played. I thought he played bishop to e2. No, bishop to f1. He plays bishop to g4 and bishop to e3. We have e captures on d4, c captures, and pawn to d5, followed by pawn to e5. Now, there's even a game in the database with this exact same setup, not played between grandmasters. That's how it goes, even if you have the World Chess Championship between Magnus and Fabi, there's a game played 40 years ago in a bar next to your house between, someone's uncle and someone else's uncle. It's just how chess works. So e5, and there is a game where knight to e4 was played. Here we have knight to e8 by Arjun, and it is now, as of move 16, that we have a completely new game. Okay, bishop to e2, we have pawn to f6. Arjun decides to break Levon's strong center here. E captures on f6. We have knight captures and queen to b3. Okay, developing the queen, putting pressure on that b7 pawn. So bishop captures, and queen to d7. Getting the queen into the game, connecting rooks, defending the b7 pawn. Also, the queen might have some access to the king side later on in the game, all depending on what happens. We have rook a to d1. And pawn to h6. Okay, we have bishop back to e2, preparing to shift the bishop over to this diagonal. Idea probably being bishop d3, bishop to b1, and then maybe queen c2 or queen d3. So if the knight from c6 ever moves, you could have problems. Rook a to e8 and bishop to d3, knight to h4, and here we have not the immediate bishop to b1. The immediate bishop to b1 would be met with knight g4, and this is just very, very annoying for white. So instead we have pawn to f3, stopping that, but weakening your king a little bit. We have knight to h7, bishop to b1. Now there's actually a target on h7, so queen d3 would come with tempo, but okay, you're just going to move the knight to f6 or g5, and well, probably not to g5, as the bishop can just capture it. But yeah, still no real danger there. Knight to g5, as the queen has yet to occupy this diagonal, and queen to c2. Now, there is a threat of maybe bishop captures and then the queen coming to h7, and there's a very, very tricky line here that was not played in the game. I'm going to show it because it's a classical game, and I know how much you guys love discussing engine lines. Here, Arjun played pawn to g6. So he simply gets the pawn in the way of the queen bishop battery, and the knight on h4 nicely defends it. But there was this beautiful knight captures on f3 move. It comes with check, so you should capture it. And now not knight captures with check to pick up the rook on e1, but rook captures on f3. And it's a really weird position where the bishop on e3 is hanging, and even if you played the best moves for white, let's say queen h7 check, king f7, it's hard to make a move here for white. Interestingly, bishop to f5 seemingly the only move that sort of holds, but not really. I mean, not an easy move to find, but if you play like maybe bishop f2 and you just try to trade rooks along the e-file, all of a sudden queen h3, and there's no defense. You're getting checkmated. Your only option is to force the knight back, and then after knight captures, you're going to trade on e8, but still knight to f4, and that's it. Once you give one check, look at this, king g6, and the black king is actually perfectly fine here in the middle of all of white's pieces. There's no useful check, and that's pretty much it. You're just going to play queen g2 checkmate. There's no stopping it. So knight captures on f3 was a very, very interesting move. Like I said, maybe possible to defend, but not if you're human. So g6, and now king to h1 by Levon. He's preparing to bring the bishop back all the way to g1, and now knight captures on f3 does not come with check, so it's not particularly useful. You can play knight g captures, now you just play g captures, and if rook captures on f3, you just go bishop g1, and all of the tricks that were there simply no longer are. So king h1 with queen to f7, now you know that something is about to get sacrificed on that f3 pawn. So queen to f2, Levon stops it, and the bishop to b8, bringing another piece into the attack. Knight to f1, now h2 is nicely defended, and knight to f5, putting pressure on the bishop, bishop to d2, and bishop to c7. Hard to say what the idea is other than to defend the a5 pawn, but I actually think that's the only idea of bishop to c7. And here we have knight to e3. Interestingly, this is one of those positions where the engines, look down on us humans, and they just say, okay, everything is perfectly fine. You just, remove one of the attackers, and okay, now if queen captures, then you can get the knight into the game with tempo. If pawn captures, you just play b4 as you should in any position, and the position is perfectly fine. But we are not engines. Knight to e3 by Levon. We have knight captures on e3, bishop captures, and king to g7. Now adding support to that g6 pawn, and waiting for a move from Levon. And Levon plays queen to f1. Now, again, Levon misses an idea, but luckily for him, Arjun misses it as well. Arjun played just rook e6, preparing to double up on the e-file or on the f-file, but instead there was the tricky bishop captures on h2. And the reason for that is that the king is just very vulnerable on h2. And you either capture it or you don't. But if you don't capture it, that means you have to admit that you've missed it. And if you capture it, then just rook captures on e3. And okay, it's winning for black. If rook captures, queen f4 check, picks up the rook. And while you could maybe continue playing it, there really isn't all that much point. You're down a pawn. Also, the white king is wide in the open. It's a really, really bad position. I mean, just a simple rook f4, rook h4 seems to be, more than enough. So after queen f1, rook to e6 by Arjun, and now bishop back to g1. Seems that Levon realized that bishop captures on h2 was a threat, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just wants to trade rooks. It's hard to say, but he is down to 12 minutes on the clock. Rook f to e8, and rook captures on e6. We have rook captures and pawn to a3. Now it seems that Levon figures he's equalized, so he's preparing pawn to b4 and pawn to h5. Now maybe with ideas of h4, h3. So queen f2, stopping pawn to h4, and now queen to f4. Okay, it seems like you're threatening mate, but not really, as that bishop on g1 seems to be defending every threat possible. And believe it or not, white can still play this, and a move like pawn to b4 or rook to f1. Okay, the game continues, but Levon played rook to e1, and he blunders the game away. What's so different about rook to e1 and then rook to f1? Feel free to pause the video and figure it out while I give you a couple of seconds. If you found this one, then congratulations. You have just kicked out Levon Aronian from the FIDE World Cup 2025. And if not, well, then just enjoy the show. As Arjun played knight to h3, we're going to give this a double exclamation mark. And it was in this position, on move 38, that Levon Aronian resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Such a disgustingly beautiful move, attacking the queen, putting pressure on the rook here. And it seems like you have so many options, but none of them really work. Of course, the rook is untouchable. Your queen on f2 is hanging. If you capture the knight, then rook captures on e1. And now if queen captures, queen f3 is checkmate. This is, I mean, just hard to watch. But also, if you don't capture the rook, what else do you play? Your bishop is hanging. You can maybe prolong the agony a little bit. Let's say bishop e2, rook d2, but still, I mean, it's that queen can never move. You know, just rook captures on e2 at some point, or whatever. There's no move that you can make. You're just going to have to sit forever, and black will be able to do whatever black wants. On the other hand, after knight h3, is there anything else that you can try? Obviously, this is out of the question. Capturing the knight is out of the question. Can we just move the queen? Maybe that's the answer. Well, if queen to f1 runs into a very simple knight g1. And that's it. Again, you have no moves because you've eliminated the defender of the checkmate. So queen h2 will be checkmate, and it doesn't matter what you play. If queen g1, then you just rook captures on e1, and after queen captures, of course, queen captures on h2 is checkmate. So a big blunder from Levon, in time trouble, and you know, he got lucky once. Arjun didn't see it. He got lucky twice. Arjun didn't see it, but third time Arjun very much saw it and takes down Levon with the black pieces, eliminates him from the World Cup, and is now going into round 6, where there will be only 8 players left, and out of those 8, 3 go into the FIDE Candidates Tournament of 2026. So he is almost on 50% of getting into the Candidates Tournament. We'll see how it goes for him, but I mean, he is one of the favorites. He's ranked number 5 in the world, maybe number 4, you know, depending on how Vincent is doing. But yeah, while we're already here, let's check out the you know, some standings. Here we have the World Top 20. Magnus Carlsen, okay, still number 1. Hikaru and Fabi, everything the same. And now some changes. Vincent winning 4 points is world number 4. Arjun now world number 5. Alireza taking a free ride, not really playing, but everyone else is losing. Prague lost points, Anish lost points, Gukesh lost points, Wesley lost points. So Alireza overtook all of them and is now world number 6. That's pretty awesome. Then, okay, Wei Yi playing but not really losing or winning. Anand also goes up 1 from 13 to 12 as, okay, people lost points. Rapport also, MVL lost a little bit of points. Ding not playing anything. Quang Liam Le won some. Nodrbek lost a lot. 18 points, drops to number 18. Mamedyarov drops to number 19. Levon, even with losing, he actually won some points in this turn because he was playing so well. But yeah, interesting stuff happening. But yeah, Alireza just, you know, going to number 6 without playing, that's pretty incredible. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Big congratulations to Arjun for qualifying to the top 8. We'll see what happens. I mean, anything can happen, but playing like this, taking down Levon with black candidates is the limit, I would say, and maybe even beyond. So I really hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Yoon Young, Max Anderson, Udo Brandt, Eddie Sphere, and David Gasparian for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.